Lions Rock Productions.
This is Jay Moore.
This is Greg Cruz.
This is Bryce Vine.
This is Dexter from The Offspring.
This is Nathan
This
East.
is Sebastian Younger.
This is Daryl Ames.
This is Stuart Copeland.
This is Mick Gillette.
This is Andy Summers.
This is Dr. Bob Greenberg.
This is Gabby Reese.
This is Rob Bell.
Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero.
Hey, and this is Pete A. Turner.
And now, the Break It Down Show with John Leon Guerrero and Pete A. Turner.
This is Pete A. Turner from the Break It Down Show, and tonight we have a great mixtape battle for you. It is the finals. It is Matt Menard taking on Brian Theis. A whole new theme. We're doing Getting Jiggy With It, and we left that up to the authors on how they define that. So let's hear it from Brian.
Hey, this is Brian Theis, and let me talk to you real quick about my mixtape. Taking a look at the theme for this mixtape of Getting Jiggy With It, I decided to go with a bunch of songs that when I listen to them, I can't help but start moving, get my blood pumping. Songs that make me just dance around a little bit, whether I'm in my cubicle or in the car. That holds true for the first 9 songs. The 10th song, the Run the Jewel song, when that bass kicks in, it goes boom. It just like knocks me down like 6 inches and makes my knees shake, and it brings me into focus. So I mean, basically, at the end of the day, this mixtape, it's kind of like a personal hype tape for myself. I hope you like it.
Perfect. And now let's hear from Matt on how he did Jiggy With It.
I gotta tell you, this one threw me for a loop. I was not expecting to get jiggy with it for this playlist. Took some thinking. I initially took Getting Jiggy With It as the broad term used in the 90s. Pretty much encompassed everything, you know, getting down with it, getting loose. I know it's affiliated with style, sex, partying, and letting loose. And so I kind of wanted to drive my list from that. In my musical journey, I initially had a whole playlist from the 90s. I didn't want to be too forward with just throwing, Will Smith's song, Get Jiggy With It in there. I wanted to go a little bit deeper than that. However, again, as I fell down this rabbit hole, I started delving more into the musical forefathers or ancestors, as you might put it, that may have influenced these artists from the 90s. And so I kind of put my list together from that. Just kind of letting loose. I wanted some sexual innuendo in there, but I wanted something that kind of talked about getting down with it, dancing, something that beats.
Great. Now let's see what Phil has to say about our corner intros.
Today's album fight is a 10-round mixtape final with playlists that make you want to get jiggy with it. In the red corner, featuring songs from Pink, Outkast, and Run the Jewels, we have the finals mixtape from Brian Theis. And his opponent in the blue corner, with songs from Kool and the Gang, James Brown, and Eddie Murphy, we have the finals mixtape from Matt Menard. Let's get ready to ramble. Take it away, judges.
Perfect. And also, of course, the patent pending analysis from Richard Lackie. Richard?
Here we are in the mixtape finals. We've got Matt versus Brian. We've changed the theme up. Now it's Getting Jiggy With It. All right. We used the same numbers technique as I did for the second round of the semifinals, and they turned out very interesting. I'll go over them real quick. One of the number systems gave Matt 5, Brian 4, and 1 tie. The next gave it Matt 6, Brian 2, ties 2. And the third, again, Matt 6, Brian 2, ties 2. So what does that say? While it looks like one of them could end up being a tie or a 5-5 fight, the other two, at best, are saying that it can be 6-4 in favor of Matt. So it's looking here like it's 2 judges to 1 at best. And it's looking to me like we've got what could be a unanimous decision for Matt. It could be 2-2 and tie, but I'm going to go with a unanimous decision for Matt. Both of these playlists seem really fun. Matt really chose a greatest hits. I mean, they all did very well in popularity score. But I do like Brian's take on this, where he kind of mixed up genres and stuff before, and that, to me, is really fun. I like both of them, but I think if we're looking at this, that Matt's going to take this one. Back to you guys.
All right, all the preliminary stuff's out of the way, fellas. It's up to us now. Let's get some preliminary thoughts. Tony, this is your first time doing an album fight as a judge. What did you think of the process, and what did you think of this fight?
So this was a very interesting fight in that and the format is great because you have two songs that are going up against each other that you would think have absolutely no business in the same ring with each other. And then you listen to it closer and closer, and maybe a second time, maybe a third time. And it's unbelievable how close these songs are. I mean, just a little bit in either way could make the difference.
Yeah, for sure. Todd, any thoughts going in pre-fight?
Yeah, I think this is an interesting difference in a album fight or mixtape fight because we're judging it, I guess, on danceability or looseness or something like that. Rather, whereas I usually dig into the lyrics or dig into the mood or dig into whatever, and I think this puts me in a place where I'm a little bit less comfortable, which is kind of in that pop music zone. Dance music. Yeah,
for sure. And I wanted to get the combatants to be a little less comfortable as well and push them out of their zone, and not just give me a gym mix or something like that. Like, give me something that's a little bit hard for you to figure out and not on either of their home comfort zone for them as well. So for sure, I felt this too as I did my unofficial scoring. Corey Farley, our final judge, what did you think going in?
Yeah, I was just looking at this. I did one last time, and it was based on albums, so you get kind of a feel for the album. This, in a mixtape round, you get some songs that are really different against one another, and the types of music in each person's mixtape is very varied. So it makes for an interesting album fight.
What did you think about having the judges talk pre-fight to hear what they had to say?
It was, I was hoping it'd be a little more helpful, actually. It was nice to have them break down kind of where they went with it, but I do have some questions for them. If I ever get to talk to them, I'm going to ask them specifically on some of these choices, why they chose it.
All right, well, since we don't have them with us right now, let's go ahead and just get started. Let's go round one, get the party started from Pink against Fresh from Kool and the Gang. Tony, you're the first time ever, so let's go ahead and have you tee it up and tell us what you think.
All right, I thought Fresh is such a gold standard of a song, and Kool and the Gang are so good at just getting you in the mood and getting you ready to go. And, I know there's been a lot of changes in the band. I saw them open up for Van Halen a couple of years ago, and Kool and the Gang pretty much blew Van Halen off the stage, which I was absolutely floored. And then I saw them again open up for Kid Rock, and they did the same thing. Just they bring tons of energy with whatever they do. I gave this one 10-9 to Fresh. And this might be a bias in a way, but I thought that the Pink song was all about her, and I didn't really like that. I liked the fact that Kool and the Gang brought everybody together, and they were very just let's all party and let's all get down. Where Pink was more like, hey, I'm here, we can start now, and that was just I didn't really appreciate that. So I went 10-9 Fresh.
That's fantastic. Great analysis. Todd.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's a lot of solipsism in Get the Party Started, for sure. So Fresh, starting with Kool and the Gang, I think I've heard this song a million times on AM radio and then twice in my headphones. It's a lot different song in your headphones because you can really hear the rhythm guitar. You can see them, you hear them slapping the bass, and the production is just so slick. I really like that song, and it's, obviously goes way back. But I wound up favoring Get the Party Started. I was surprised to see it was written by Linda Perry of Four Non Blondes, which I thought was interesting. And, by the way, I watched the YouTube videos for all these songs. We should have done the playlist on YouTube instead of Spotify because it was so good. And she was running around. But anyway, the thing I like about Get the Party Started, it just has like a higher energy. It's more danceable. I think Kool and the Gang is a lot more sophisticated musically. I think there are absolutely no chord changes in Get the Party Started. It's almost like a raga or a drone. But I don't know, I like the energy of it. And so I went with that 10-9.
And Corey, what'd you do?
Well, you get the Party Started by Pink. It was really, for me, it's like her first real pop song. There was Lady Marmalade that came out right before that. That was kind of compilation, still R&B. She kind of was R&B before, and then switched over to pop. And it's a great song. Fresh, Cool in the Gang. It came out in '84, I think. It was a much older song. It kind of introduced the word fresh, to my knowledge. I mean, that I hadn't really heard it before that. And in their descriptions, they call it funk, but to me, it's really kind of more. It still has a disco flavor to it. It's like the latter, in '84 they still were doing disco, and honestly, because of that, I went 10-9 for Get This Party Started.
A close round, though. It sounds like you guys went with Pink overall. Let's go ahead and do round 2. We're coming to Dance, Gaslight Anthem, and Let's Get Down from Tony making their second appearance in the Mixtape Battles. Let's have Todd go ahead and start this round.
Okay, so the Gaslight Anthem, I was familiar with them because of Here's Looking at You, Kid. So that's sort of, I think actually that's the only song I know from them. So this was completely different. I tend not to like that power pop kind of everything's a 16th note and singing really intensely over it. It doesn't really connect with me. Let's Get Down, that's from 1996. I like that guitar a lot in there. I hate, what is that weird like spirally cymbally thing? I don't even know what that is. It's like a triangle mixed with a slide whistle or something. I hated it, but anyway, I liked the production. I liked all that stuff. And also, I'm so dumb. I didn't know Raphael Sadiq was in Tony. So that shows what I know. Anyway, I wound up giving it to Let's Get Down, barely 10-9.
So you didn't like the boop sound?
Yeah, what is that?
Yeah, I mean, it's like a glockenspiel note with an effect, a triangle, or maybe it's that thing that I can't think of the name of it, but it's got a hammer and a piece of iron on it that you can it's like a centrifugal force kind of weapon. Jesus Christ! It's got an energy hammer, and it strikes like a bar, a note, sort of, kind of like a glockenspiel, but like one note.
Yeah, I don't know what that was, but I don't like it. Take that out. It sounds perfect. I've spoken.
They fell in love with the sound. All right, Corey, how did you do it?
For We Came to Dance by Gaslight Anthem, I'd never heard it before. Immediately when I start playing it, it's kind of in my wheelhouse. I kind of like the kind of punk pop sort of songs. And I thought it actually, to me, the whole thing, I mean, when I looked in there, I think they were from New Jersey. It kind of sounded like you take Springsteen and punk and put it together, kind of, and that was my take on that one. But Let's Get Down by Tony. If you're in the Bay Area, that's they're kind of our home band here.
Right.
In this one, I actually preferred it when DJ Quick is actually doing the rapping rather than when they're singing. I thought they couldn't figure out what the song was. It a rap song? Was it an R&B song? Was it both? It actually didn't really flow too well for me, that particular song, and I thought it was a little too slow, personally. So I gave We Came to Dance, Gaslight Anthem, 10-9.
All right. So far we're kind of divided up, not too much on point here. Let's see what Tony has to say.
Well, I agree with Corey. The Let's Get Down is a great track. But I agree in that it goes back and forth. I love the DJ Quick rapping. That was fantastic. I liked his little nod to the Sugar Hill Gang in the very beginning. That was pretty cool. Gaslight Anthem, their album, The 59 Sound, is fantastic. And they are also right in my wheelhouse as far as music that I like. And I thought We Came to Dance was something that it says it right in the title, and they get right into their business and start rocking from the beginning. So I gave it to the Gaslight Anthem as well on that one.
All right. Well, I've been waiting for this next round because this is going to be tough. Round 3, Beck, Where It's At versus Montel Jordan. This is how we do it. Both fighters are loose. I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say. Corey, kick us off. What did you think about this round?
Right. So Where It's At by Beck. The song came out. It was on the radio all the time. I listened to it quite a bit. But in reflection and listening back on it, it's kind of like a nerdy guy using street slang to me now. It's kind of like the first hipster song that I recall listening to. This is how we do it. Montel Jordan. It's a great party song. I still think it holds up great today. I do like that they did sample Children's Story by Slick Rick.
Yeah.
That's a backbeat. And in fact, even he does the little Slick Rick sort of Children's Story style of rapping at the very end, which I really like. So for me, I went with This Is How We Do It, 10-9.
All right. And what about you, Tony?
Yeah, this was my most difficult round. I listened to both of these songs a couple of times to see where I could find the edge. And, where it's at, Beck is so talented and he's such a great musician, but there's nothing like on a Friday night after you get home from work and you're getting ready to go to the club and you throw on Montel Jordan. That's what you're going to put on the radio. You're not going to put on Beck. And so I went 10-9 with Montel.
So this is just strong Jiggy factor with Montel. Like when you talk about Jiggy, he's one of the guys you can go to.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Todd?
Yep, I'm going to have to agree with Tony and Corey on this one. Beck, I always think of him as sort of a whiter Moby, and also that guy who sampled the Them album and kind of ruined it for everybody. But the thing with Beck is I feel like there's too much ironic distance to really enjoy it, and the groove doesn't really have a groove to it. It's sort of the worst parts of the 90s sort of all come together in this song. I've never cared for it. I've never understood why it was a hit. The Montel Jordan, I like that a lot, and I gotta say I wasn't super familiar with that before. One problem I have with getting my head around pop music a lot of times, because I feel like there's sort of two big camps. There's like one that's kind of the Beatley chords, with the juicy chord changes. Then there's the other one that's kind of a couple hooks just barely held together. It's like cream meringue or something, and it just barely holds together. This is kind of one of those songs, and it works so well, and it's so interesting because if you take it apart, there's not a whole lot there other than obviously the lyrics and the singing, but like musically, it's I've always been interested in those kind of pop songs that are sort of barely there with kind of hooks and samples strung together, and there are a lot of ones like that. But anyway, this song has a fantastic groove to it, and so I gave it to Montel Jordan. 10-9.
10-9. Okay, good. Well, let's look at round 4, The Way You Move from Outkast. Very, very strong song picked by Brian against Sex Machine from James Brown. Another tough round, and I'm dying to hear what you guys have to say. So let's go ahead and have Tony lead this one off.
Yeah, when I heard these two songs in a row, I was like, legend, and just about a legend. The melodies of the James Brown song are so iconic. I mean, that's something that just rings in your head and has been there for, however long you've been listening to music. And then Outkast comes out with their song, and it definitely has a groove to it. But I went with James Brown just more so because of the legend factor, and because that song still plays in 2018.
Yeah, I was thinking when I was listening to it that Brian talks about how he wanted, like, these songs make a move, and as soon as Sex Machine came on, I was like, my head was going da 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 da. Like you just, it's a song that Brian should have picked almost, right?
Yeah, I listened to this playlist when I was out for a run, and I can tell you that when Sex Machine came on, my pace picked up a lot, and so I thought that was huge.
Todd, what's huge about it for you?
Yeah, Get Up. I feel like being a Sex Machine parts 1 and 2. I know you don't like long titles. This is just a classic, right? It's Catfish Collins is playing that iconic riff on the guitar, and it's just the tightest band. And then James Brown can make them do whatever he wants: stop on a dime, start up, play a bridge, play a start. He's just it's like an instrument that James Brown plays, and it's so fantastic. And I love that part at like 2:49. He just kind of turns the beat inside out and does a whole different kind of funk inside of a funk, and it's just a fantastic song. And it's one of those James Brown is one of those influential artists that doesn't feel faded, because he's influenced just about everybody. He's been sampled by just about everybody, but it doesn't feel faded or like over familiar. It still seems fresh, listening to it, 102 years later after it was recorded. The Outkast one too is also fantastic. This could have probably won any other round that it was up against. The video is corny. We'll just leave it at that. There's some interesting chord changes in the chorus. And I like the bass. I like the acoustic guitar sample. I have to say, I don't know exactly where they're from, but that was a really strong song, but I'm giving it to James Brown 10-9 because I don't want James Brown to find me.
You don't want to get fined. Gotcha. Hey, let me ask you this too. Both these songs have horns in them, right? And you have like the staccato da-da-da from James Brown, but you got the more, I don't want to call them disco-y, but they're more whimsical like that. You know, did you find a favor either way with the horns?
Are you asking me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. You know, I have to be honest. Like I don't know how to answer that because I don't recall the horns in the Outkast song.
They go da da da. I like the way you move. Da da da. There's
in the refrain.
Difference. Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's all right. We'll just cut that whole thing out.
I would appreciate that.
Corey, how about you?
All right, with The Way You Move from Outkast. It's a great song. I love that song. It sticks in your head. Even after I listened to it later today, it's the one that I was still saying in my head. I like the way you move as I'm just kind of walking around. My little issue with Big Boy, I suppose, is that I don't really like his voice. Compared to Andre 3000, I've always, when you had the two, it was always not one or the other. It was like the two, and I'm like, Andre was my preference. On Sex Machine by James Brown, I do a little reading on it or whatever. It says it recorded in 2 takes. That's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
If that's true. Wikipedia. But it said recorded in 2 takes.
Yeah.
And like what Todd had said about the other Collins, they had Bootsy Collins on there playing bass too, which, I'm not a huge music guy, but I do know who he is.
Yes.
I didn't realize he had been around that long. I guess I should have. I do enjoy that. The actual lyrics in it, one of it was, "Can I hit it and quit it?" And that was in 1970. I thought we made that up. Apparently we did not.
Yeah.
So taking all that in, the sum of it, I gave it to Sex Machine, James Brown, 10-9.
Yeah, no, I like it. And then, like Todd, like you were saying, where the influence that comes out of James Brown, he writes this, and just a couple years later, Led Zeppelin's looking for a bridge in a song. And directly lifting from James Brown.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think that song's 4/4. That's like some kind of weird time signature. But yeah, absolutely. Definitely influenced by that, right?
Yeah. And I love your note about how he played his band, because he doesn't play an instrument, but he's absolutely, with his back to him, orchestrating, and everybody, like when he says go, you can't even be he's like the ISO 9000 of music. Like you've got to be on time. There's no messing around if you want to make money that night.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go ahead and go into the next round. Round 5. Don't Threaten Me with a Good Time, Panic at the Disco. Summertime, getting right to the jiggy roots by Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, Will Smith himself. Let's go ahead and have Todd start us off.
Okay. So I finally recognized the sample in the Panic at the Disco song.
Finally.
So that was good. Finally, good for me. I watched all the videos on YouTube, and this one reminded me of that Prodigy video, "Smack My Bitch Up," was kind of a first-person point of view. So I thought that was pretty good. I don't know if it was a nod to that or what, but I thought that was pretty great. It gets a little bit weirder even than the Prodigy video. I really like the Panic at the Disco song. I love the crazy lyrics. I love the refrain, "Champagne, cocaine, gasoline." That's pretty good. And "Summertime" is a really strong song as well. That goes back to 1991, so it's like 27 years old.
Yeah.
It's a cool halftime beat. It's a big kind of mood. It's great. It talks like a barbecue started at 4, wipe down your car at 6, go cruising. So it's like it's a busy day in a summer. But ultimately, I gave it to Panic at the Disco just because that song grabbed me.
All right, Corey, how about you?
Okay, "Don't Threaten Me with a Good Time" by Panic at the Disco. I hadn't heard it before, actually, for some reason. A lot of these songs came out. This one wasn't too old. I don't know why I hadn't heard it, but it had they took liberties with the Rock Lobster sample.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it was almost like I thought they were going to actually go into the song. They sampled so much of it. It was a little bit much for me, actually, there. The chorus was great. I would listen to it again. "Summertime" by DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. I do like some of their songs. "Summertime" I do enjoy, but it is too slow for me as a summer jam. It has always been, if it's background music, I don't mind it on, but I don't go search it out either. So I gave Panic at the Disco, "Don't Threaten Me with a Good Time," 10-9.
All right. And how about you, Tony?
Well, I went the other way on this, and I thought that Summertime, I remember when that song came out, I was in high school, and that was just kind of the song for that year. And it's ingrained in my memory about how good and what the feelings that song evokes in my mind. But I like the slowed down groove, because it seems like, especially with this mixtape, it kind of like gives you a little bit of a rest. It says, okay, we're gonna go a little slow now. You can relax and get ready for the rest of it. I like Panic at the Disco a lot. I think Brendan Urie is a fantastic artist. And I think if Summertime goes against a different song like Vegas Lights or Victorious, I think Panic wins for me. But I just don't think that this Panic song is as good as some others, and I don't think it stands up to Summertime. So I went with Jazzy Jeff.
I wanted to ask you guys, great notes by the way, Tony. I wanted to ask you guys too about the sampling. Would Rock Lobster have done as well in this slot? Like if you replace Panic at the Disco just with Rock Lobster, would it have been a better choice, do you think?
For me, I think I would have had Rock Lobster still win over Summertime. Personally. Yeah. So my scores wouldn't have changed on that one.
I agree. I'm thinking any number of B-52 songs. The Mesopotamia, Dance This Mess Around probably would have beaten. I'm a huge fan of B-52s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I like the B-52s a lot as well. I think Rock Lobster would have done well.
That guitarist is seriously underrated. I can't remember his name, unfortunately, but just the way he mixes the surf with the rock and just keeps the beat going at the same time. It's amazing what he does. I don't think he gets enough credit as a guitarist.
Yeah, that's an outstanding band. And Corey, like you said, when you hear that Rock Lobster sample, you're like, okay, I buy it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing Rock Lobster. It reminds me of that band Soho with that hippie chick song where they lifted all of like How Soon Is Now's good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And you're just like, would you just play How Soon Is Now instead of this stupid,
Right. I literally thought, when they do the sample for Rock Lobster, it really sounds like they're going into it. They borrowed too much, I think.
Yeah.
It actually didn't, they stole that hook. It's just unmistakable. You hear it and you go, Rock Lobster, like you're saying, oh, yeah, it's coming on. Oh, no, it's still that other song.
Yeah, but it gets inverted and turned around a little bit, which I think adds to that mode of the song, how it subverts that. So the point of the song is to lull you in and then kind of punch you with that inverted sample, which I don't know if they just played it backwards or what, but
I don't enjoy the singing in any of the Panic at the Disco songs. I it's just so hard to understand what's being said clearly. Granted, I have too many bombs go off by my head and I can't hear anything. But there's something about how that, and maybe I'm just distracted by all the great videos that people do about what you could hear in the lyrics, that I'm never able to stay on task when I hear their songs. Do you guys struggle with that at all with them?
I think their first two albums are some of the best pop albums that came out in between 2000 and 2010. And I had no problems with those albums as far as lyrics go. But once I think he got rid of everybody in his band and he started with a new band, and then he went a little more like grunge sounding. Then it starts the lyrics question in your head, and you go, what did you say? Wait, what?
Right. Yeah. All right, well, let's keep moving. Let's go to round 6, Open All Night from Bruce Springsteen versus, get this, Party All the Time from Eddie Murphy. And I will tell you right now, this is why we have album fights. Whenever did Bruce Springsteen say, I'm going to have to face down Eddie Murphy legitimately in a song-for-song fight? I mean, this is why we do this impossible conversation that's about to happen. So I'm going to shut up, get out of Corey's way, and have him start.
All right, so Open All Night, Springsteen and the Sessions Band. I had never heard this before. I'm not a huge Springsteen fan, but what I've heard, I've always liked. I did like that the kind of starts off with sort of a Chuck Berry sort of a surf, maybe guitar. This was only as that I could find. I didn't really listen to the Spotify stuff. I didn't have the link, and I don't have a Spotify account. But it's only the live version, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So my problem with the song, I thought the song was great, but I actually thought it was underproduced. And just Bruce Springsteen, while being a great singer, kind of sucked at certain parts of that. I was not impressed with his ability to sing. I mean, granted, he was probably jumping around doing other things, and I get it, but I would have liked to have heard a produced version. And then you got Party All the Time by Eddie Murphy. Who would ever think that, a song by a comic would be in here. But it was produced by Rick James. It's a pretty good little jam. I was surprised. So I actually gave it to Party All the Time by Eddie Murphy, mostly due to the fact that I thought the live version just didn't do it for me for the Springsteen song.
Wow. All right. Well, let's see what Tony thought.
I remember when Party All the Time came out, and I was like, Eddie Murphy sings this song? And I just wanted to fall out of my chair at the time because I couldn't believe that he was singing something like that. But it gets you going. And when you're talking about the getting jiggy with it theme, it gets you on your feet and gets you rocking. That Springsteen version, I had not heard that as well. And although I thought Bruce was not as good as he has the capability of being, I was super impressed with the band. And that's what grabbed my attention for the 4 or 5 minutes that I was listening to it. It was just, it seemed like the band was doing something different every single time, and I loved that. It wasn't just, hey, here's a riff that we're gonna keep going with, for 4 minutes and party all the time. It was a fun song. I thought that I was in a bar with a pint listening to it, and that's what gets me going. So I gave it to Springsteen. But very close. Very close.
Closer than you'd ever expect. If I was to say that round out loud to you at the grocery store, you'd be like, oh, come on. Right?
Mm-hmm,
and then,
100%.
And then they get in there, you're like, oh, my gosh, this is really a tight round. Todd, what did you think?
All right. I didn't care for either of these songs. Party All the Time was interesting, like how a time capsule is interesting. With the crazy gated reverb drums and the very, very dated synth sounds. I was listening to this, I was thinking, is this going to sound like how ragtime sounds to us, to our grandkids? It'd be like a Sousa march, just completely unrelatable. The singing is great. The song structure, all that kind of stuff is great. It definitely has a groove, which is good. So that's the nice stuff I can say about it. The Bruce Springsteen song was terrible. I started making a list. I'm like, I don't like the trombone solo. I don't like the lap guitar solo. I don't like the backup singers. I don't like that boogie woogie piano solo. And the singing was, Bruce's voice does not lend itself to that style of music. And I, why would Bruce do something Brian Setzer could do 100 times better? I think he should kind of play to his strengths a little bit more. So I gave this to Eddie Murphy by default, 10-9.
Okay. All right. I love it. This to me is like the Henry Cooper versus Muhammad Ali. You're like, who the fuck is Henry Cooper? He's the guy that basically beat Muhammad Ali with one big punch, and that's kind of what we just had here in this round. That's great. Hey, we're halfway through, and basically we're dead even. Are you guys surprised at all? Corey, what do you think so far?
Yeah, I actually I was a little surprised at that, because there's great songs on both sides. It's just when you put one song against another song and actually have to make a choice, you start having to make, in some cases, hard choices. And sometimes I'm a little surprised at the choices I make, actually.
And then what do you think, now that you've done this a couple of times, what are your nits that you like that decide things? What are your discriminating nits that you have to pick? Is it things that you like more, or things that you don't like, you think, that you
I don't really have any method to my madness yet. It's hard to look back at songs with my outlook today versus how I felt about the song then. Sometimes I look back and I go, well, a song that came out in 1989, it was my favorite song that year. But now I look back on it and I'm like, it didn't hold up well for me. So I am kind of going, I guess if I had any method to my madness, it's how well did it hold up to today?
Yeah, last week we were talking about how we're embarrassed that we like Aerosmith, right, Todd? You know what? I like it, but I hate to say it out loud, and it's funny how that works. Todd, what do you think? 6 rounds in each.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm a little bit older, I think, than the people who made these lists, and I lived through the sort of disco sucks thing. I was into disco in middle school. I loved disco. And then it wasn't cool to like anyone. I didn't like it, And I look back on that and I think of all the music I missed out on, like all the genres, all that stuff, just because that was somehow I accepted it unquestioningly, right? And it's it was stupid, Like you think of all the house, acid, all the stuff that you missed, and just because it's like not cool or it's not Led Zeppelin or whatever, And so I listen to this, and then I think there's a lot of music I slept on, because of that kind of stuff. These were, some of these songs from the 80s and 90s. These are songs like my girlfriends liked that I didn't like, that kind of stuff.
Right.
So I'm thinking about that, and I'm just thinking about like my own kind of comeuppance for just kind of my own stupidity. I feel like I'm a little bit more open-minded about music now. The other thing is, Brian is doing, I judged Brian's semifinals, and he's doing his thing about throwing a bunch of eclectic stuff, right?
Yeah.
And this is, the point of this is to get jiggy with it and to dance, and, deep lyrics aren't going to help a whole lot, and, that kind of stuff. And then Matt is going right down home plate with just danceable tunes, right? And so every once in a while, Brian will get a long shot and get a great song in there, and then, but it's Matt's to beat. It's sort of relative to how Matt's song is doing.
Right. Okay. So him just getting right down the middle is making him hard to beat, where he's not going to miss. You might get better, but he's already at a pretty high level all the time, is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a similar strategy to the semifinal we did last time, where it was like straight up hair bands and every song had love in the title. And then Brian threw together this really interesting eclectic mix of songs, and that served him well. I think it's serving him less well here.
Okay. And then, Tony, what do you think? We're 6 rounds in, and this thing's deadlocked, 3 rounds apiece.
I'm super surprised, especially when if we just look at the last round and you look at Springsteen versus Eddie Murphy and how we have differing opinions on it. And it's like you said, Pete, you walk in the grocery store and you're like, Springsteen or Eddie Murphy, what do you think? 999 times out of 999,
yes,
you're going to go with Springsteen. But not necessarily when it's locked up in this format.
Yeah.
I think I agree with Todd as well. I think as we get older, we are more appreciative of music. Like that Tony song, that was one that I'd heard for the first time. And I'm sitting there listening to it. I was an alt rock and a college rock guy when I was in my teens and my 20s. And I would have never thought to put on a Tony song. And then I'm listening to that song, and especially the DJ Quick part. And I'm like, this has a really good groove. I kind of dig this. And what it does is it helps us, go in and find other things that we're going to like and.
Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero, co-host of the Break It Down Show and fellow producer here at Lions Rock Productions. And I'm proud to announce our newest show coming in January. It's called Justice. Season 1 is going to be a deep dive into some of the cases I personally worked on as a licensed private investigator, and you'll get a unique view into the criminal justice system that may just challenge some of your personal notions about how it should work and open your eyes in ways you never imagined. So keep your ears open for Justice, a brand new podcast coming in January from Lions Rock Productions to iTunes, Stitcher, and wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
And like, this has a really good groove. I kind of dig this. And what it does is it helps us, go in and find other things that we're going to like and see and listen to later on. So I appreciate that. But yeah, super surprised it's even.
And I guess I should say this for the audience in general. When we first started, one of the very first really big guests out of the gate we got, not even 10 shows in, was Dwayne Wiggins. And we had him a couple of times on the show. And so to have him be this rock of our show to help launch us, and now here he is, 400-plus episodes later, his music is still impacting on the show. I love that. So you guys should all go check out those early conversations with Dwayne Wiggins, because he's a brilliant guy and super insightful. So let's get back to work, though. Round 7, Ruby Soho from Rancid against Humpty Dance from Digital Underground. Come on. Let's go ahead and have Tony go first.
So Ruby Soho is one of my songs to go to when I'm trying to, run fast, or I'm at the beach and I just want to rock out. Ruby Soho is definitely one of my go-tos. But the Humpty Dance gets you moving. Uh-huh. It gets those legs out of control and gets you all over the place. And it just, is there really a better lyric than I once got busy in a Burger King bathroom? I mean, that's just, it still stands out to me 30 years later that, I can think of that all the time, and it just cracks me up every time. I gave this one to Digital Underground 10-9.
Todd?
Yeah, Digital Underground is one of my favorite bands. Sons of the P was stuck in my Walkman it was like 91. That's pretty much all I listened to. So I'm a huge fan of Digital Underground. I wrote down that same lyric. I once got busy in a Burger King restroom because it's so great. I'm happy there's a song about being too skinny, being weird looking, and moving like you're having a fit or a convulsion. So I feel like I'm the target audience for this song. It obviously speaks to me. And then at the end, it's funny because he's rapping and he's like, and then he goes, black people, like he's not rapping. And then he's like, white people, Samoans. And it's I don't know why, but that always cracks me up. It's just so guileless the way he just kind of does that. But it's a fantastic song. It's great. It's like dirty. It's funny. It grooves. It's just perfect. Rancid, Ruby Soho, that's a fantastic song as well. About a girl and a guy in a band, their ill-fated relationship. That's as timeless as it gets. It's a fantastic song, but I just couldn't beat out Humpty Dance, 10-9.
Yeah. Corey?
Yeah, so Ruby Soho from Rancid, it's a great song. Love that song. It's a nice blend of the punk pop that I kind of like. But then you got, Digital Underground, Humpty Dance, from Oakland, Berkeley area. I also wrote down the same lyric, the Burger King bathroom, like everyone else. But the thing that cracked me up about this is I remember back in the day because everyone would do the Humpty Dance.
Yes.
It's actually a dance. And I love because it says no two people will do it the same. You got it down when you appear to be in pain. Was a good description of the dance.
It's universal.
Yes. So for me, I got to go with Humpty Dance, 10-9.
All right. And I should note out, Corey knows from which he speaks, 1988's Best Dancer Male winner for Benicia High School. So congratulations. And
thank you. I'm still proud of that.
Wow.
Yes.
Not so much, no.
I hope that wasn't your peak.
I'm afraid it was.
Yes, Corey no longer does the Kid and Play, but that's a different topic. Let's go ahead and go into round 8. I Still Believe from Frank Turner versus 1-2 Step from Ciara. Let's go ahead and have Todd start this one off.
Okay, I must admit I wasn't familiar with either song, so I had to listen to them both a couple times. The Frank Turner was super interesting. Not lots of big major chords and an acoustic guitar, not something you associate it with dancing music. Kind of had a Billy Bragg vibe to it, and I like the lyrics about rock and roll saving us, kind of putting us in an ecstatic sort of a state. So it's a really good song. Again, though, adhering to our theme, I feel like the Ciara song is a lot better. Or closer to the theme. She's a model, an actress, and a singer, so it's good to see something finally going right for her in this song. It kind of has that acidy kind of synth to it, a little bit of acidy stuff, which kind of I thought rooted it in the past a little bit. And I like the way that the verses kind of sway back and forth between two minor chords. I think that was interesting. And then the bridge switches then to the same, but it's major key, and then it goes. So it's even like kind of interesting harmonically, which is different from all the other songs that we've been having. So I gave it to Ciara, 10-9.
Corey?
Okay, so yeah, I had not heard either song either. I Still Believe by Frank Turner. I thought it was a great song. To me, it actually kind of evoked Mrs. Robinson by Simon and Garfunkel, but with a different hook. But when I was listening to it, I was like, it really sounded, the way it was structured and the way they were singing it, sounded really close to that. And then it got to the hook, and it was definitely different.
Right.
But I really liked it. The 1-2 Step, Ciara is it's Miami style. As soon as I heard that, I mean, you could just, even though it was 2004, Miami style bass was really more of an 80s thing that I recall. It was immediately, as soon as I heard it, I looked it up. I'm like, yep, Miami, shocker. I like the little Planet Rock sort of Africa Bambaataa, sounds they do in there. So I was giving it to Ciara over Frank Turner, 10-9.
All right, and Tony, close this round out for us.
I also first timer for both of these songs, although I'd listened to other songs by Frank Turner in just casual listening, but I didn't I wouldn't know a Frank Turner song by name for sure. I like the Ciara song, but I thought it was a little too, for me, it was a little too over the top. The Frank Turner song, I think the album was called England Hold My Roots that it was off of, and I could totally feel that in the song. used this analogy before, but I thought I was sitting in the pub, just sitting there watching him and his band play. And that really speaks to me as a fan of music. And so I went the other way. I went with Frank Turner on this one.
All right. Well, let's go into our penultimate round, round 9. Hey Emily from the Mother Hips versus She's a Bad Mama Jamma from Carlton. I was going to have Corey start this one off, but Corey, I'm going to ask you to hang in there because I believe you have some things to say that are special about this round, and I'm going to have Tony lead us off.
This was the Mother Hips song. That was a first time for me on the listening of Hey Emily, and I liked it. It was a good song, but Bad Mama Jamma just hits it right out of the park. I mean, when I saw these two songs we're gonna lock up, I'm looking at it going, I don't really know if Hey Emily has the staying power on this one. And sure enough, in my opinion, Bad Mama Jamma, that's a song that I can listen to over and over and over again. And so, and never get tired of it. I went 10-9, Bad Mama Jamma.
All right, Todd?
Yeah, these were two super strong songs, and She's a Bad Mama Jamma, 1981. Most of the CPU processing power at that time went into synth sounds and drum solos. They took CPUs out of NORAD and actually put them in synthesizers to make this music. So that's good. Yeah, and I love the rhythm guitar in this. I love the synth solo. I love the rhyme with anatomy. I love it just gets super explicit. Without going over the edge, that it couldn't be played on the radio. It's good. The Mother Hips song, Hey Emily, I really like this song. It's the first time I heard of it. It takes a little while to get going, but then it starts to cook. It reminded me a lot of Black Betty, by Ram Jam. It kind of had that thing going on, and the cool harmonies I liked a lot. And the lyrics were great. It's like you can't dance the sound of a freight train running through your head, or the sound like bacon sizzling or whatever. I loved it. So I gave it to Hey Emily 10-9, but just barely.
Okay, just barely. Interesting. Yeah, okay. And Corey, what did you think about this round?
I am not a fan of Mother Hips. I'll just put that out there. It's not their fault. I went to college in Chico. So on West 2nd Avenue, it was an apartment complex, and in this one-story little sort of off building right in the middle of it, that is where they practiced before they were the Mother Hips, when they were Allie and the Cats and people from the Keystones. And I had to listen every day to, when they weren't very good. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm so biased, because they were horrid to listen to every day. Imagine just hearing this, and they would just do the chorus over and over again. Sha la 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 la. I listened to that for like months upon months, multiple times per day, and you couldn't get away from it. Like I said, I am a little biased on the Mother Hips. All in all, I actually don't mind the sound. I think the song is good. It does pick up near the end, which I wish they would have done that the entire time. But, you got She's a Bad Mama Jamma. It's just a classic song. I mean, you got to love the lyrics on that. It's all about her body measurements are perfect in every dimension. She's got a figure that's sure enough paying attention. She's poetry in motion. It's just all about some chick's body.
Yeah.
Which you just got to respect that they wrote enough lyrics about basically a brick house chick.
Yeah.
So I gave it 10-9 to She's a Bad Mama Jamma.
There's so much to talk about. I want to slow down just for a second. We'll get to the final round. But first off, recently in the news, because everybody's got to be offended about something. Somebody got mad about the song Lukenbach, Texas. And it's a Waylon Jennings song. He talks about putting his hands on firm feeling women. We just had two songs, She's a Bad Mama Jamma and Humpty Dance, where they talk about figures. And what it's like, I defy anybody to say that the Humpty Dance is in some way, derogatory towards anybody. But this is what's happening here with the Lukenbach, Texas thing and a firm feeling woman. You get to sing about what you like about. And if you don't like that, write your own fucking song, and Jesus Christ, get your hands off my song. Leave Baby It's Cold Outside alone. Leave all those things alone, or go write your own song that has no offense in it so nobody can care. That's
or listen
me.
to.
Yeah, have nobody listen to it. And then, this is what I love about judging these things is, we try to wash our bias out, but Brian has no idea you lived next to the Mother Hips back near Chico days. I mean, It's just what happens. Sometimes you run into someone that just loves Larry Holmes' jab, and as long as he keeps pumping that, he's going to keep winning rounds in a boring fashion. So this is.
I like how you made them sound like an environmental toxin. I think that was great. like it's built up in your
noise
system.
Pollution after about the 1,000th time you heard sha la 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 la.
Yeah. You make it sound like lead paint chips or something like that. So I appreciate it.
And once again,
it was cool though that they would play like Allie and the Cats at least, and even the other ones would get together. So in our little courtyard there was just a grass square, and they would sometimes play there. So that was actually really cool.
Yeah. And Corey knew something.
The rehearsal space was not so cool.
Corey knew something about noise pollution from Marchico days as well, but that's a different show. So let's do round 10, the final round here, and we're gonna have Todd start us off, and it's gonna be Christmas fucking Miracle from Run the Goddamn Jewels. I added the goddamn part, and Jam on It from Nucleus. Todd.
Okay, this is one where watching the videos I think really helped me in the round quite a bit. So Run the Jewels I was familiar with from the DJ Shadow album, and that song Nobody Speak, which is a fantastic song. Anyway, it's interesting because the video is very silly, and then this song is very, very serious. It does have a good beat, but I feel like if you're on the dance floor, you're just going to stop and listen to the lyrics and say, like, oh, this is very, very deep stuff, and you're just going to go off and think and stop dancing. So this I think engages on the wrong level, even though I love it. Especially there's that great line about gentrification in Brooklyn, where he's like, "I love what you did with the place." I thought that's such a devastating lyric. It's pretty good. And he's like, "How do you raise a whole human, single parent and stuff?" So it's pretty dicey, and there's stuff that makes you think a lot, which I really liked. But not quite sure how danceable it is. Nucleus is fantastic, and that video everybody should watch because it just has all the b-boy culture from the 80s, with the break dancing and all the stuff and the rapping and the bowler hats. I don't know what that was all about, and it makes the references to like Dolomite, Disco Kryptonite, all that stuff. So I gave it to Jam on It because it's a fantastic song. A great way to end it too.
Great, yeah, strong ending. Corey?
I had never heard the Run the Jewels song, but just listening, it came out in 2013, but it definitely, the flavor that it had was more of a sort of early 90s kind of old school rap feel, which I thought was great, but it's definitely more of an East Coast style. I never really got into a lot of the East Coast styles. Jam on It, that is an old school song. It's a little after probably Bambaataa came out, but it's pretty much the origin of it, of the genre of hip hop. I thought it holds up well. It kind of was in that whole sort of space rap, sort of with Afrika Bambaataa and them. They were really, the early stuff was into like space, like planetary things, interstellar players. It was weird. So I would give it to Jam on It, 10-9.
Yeah, it's funny how space and Egypt were themes in the mid '80s for the hip hop genre and everything.
Yeah, there was a reference about like flying around the world 3 times. I didn't quite catch where that was all going, but yeah, I see what you're saying.
Maybe they're Alan Shepard fans or something. Tony, close us out.
All right, so Jam on It I was familiar with. I had heard it before. Run the Jewels, I've heard other songs by Run the Jewels, and at the time that I would listen to them, they come in recommended from other people going, oh, these guys are great, listen to that. And I'd listen to it and I'd go, yeah, not really, no. So then I put these 2 songs up against each other, and if I was to do like a fight analogy here, I thought that Jam on It kind of was like Money Mayweather dancing around the ring. It was fast and it was cool. I thought it went a little long, and then I listened to Run the Jewels and it hit me right square in the face. Just dropped me. I was so impressed that I listened to it again just to make sure that I was listening to it. Did I hear exactly what I thought I heard? And I was very impressed with Run the Jewels. I gave it to them 10-9. I was mad when that song was over.
Well, that's Run the Jewels was one of the things I've discovered through the album fights, and so yeah, I know what you're talking about. So that's it. That's 10 rounds. Let's go to the scorecard and let's take a look real quick at what we've got. And we've got a unanimous decision here, and it seems like from the 6th round on, Brian just seemed to not find his range anymore. Let's talk about it in a second, but first let's get Rickards' post-fight.
Congratulations to Matt on his big win in the first Break It Down Show mixtape contest. And also, congratulations to the patent-pending number system for nailing this one. Now, if you remember, we had 3 parameters, just like we have 3 judges. One of the parameters said 5 rounds to 4 rounds and 1 tie. The other 2 were 6 rounds to 2 rounds to 2 ties. Now, basically, those ties can go as a tie or to either one of the competitors. Now, if you look at the actual scores, we had 2 judges, 7-3. Okay, if you remember, 2 of those were 6-2 to 2. So all they had to do is pick up one of those ties to win it, and both of them did that, 7-3 on both of those. Now the other judge was 6 rounds to 4. If you remember in the numbers, we had one that was 5-4 to 1. That tie ended up going to Matt, making it 6 rounds to 4. So the numbers were dead on. I have to admit, I didn't think it was going to be that accurate. I like both of these playlists are obviously fun. I really, really liked Brian mixing up genres and everything here. I don't know if that may have come into play or something, but I like that idea, kind of a playlist for the many or for people with multiple tastes. But these are both basically 2 greatest hit albums. They did a good job with a subject that could be tough or kind of low-hanging fruit, and I think they picked some really, really interesting songs. Also, thanks to everybody who participated into this. It takes big cojones to put yourself out there like this, and even if you didn't get through your particular round or the prelims or something like that, don't hang your head. I saw almost all these playlists, and they were all great. In fact, some of the ones that didn't even make it in the semifinals I loved. So hats off to everybody. I hope we do this more in the future because this was a ton of fun for everybody involved. And just great job, everybody. Great job to the judges. Great job to contestants. And we'll see you at a regular album fight next. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Richard. So, Todd, from round 6 on, this fight turns. What changed?
I think just the strategy stopped paying off. And I think that there were some really strong songs there towards the end of Matt's mixtape, especially Humpty Dance, which was unanimous, and Jam on It. And, he got 2 out of 3 with the last one. So it just finished really strong. And the songs that Brian picked out were super strong as well, but sometimes missed the theme and sometimes weren't as good as the straight up dance songs.
Yeah, Humpty Dance, She's a Bad Mama Jamma, and Jam on It against any collection of songs is going to be very, very rough for anybody, and that doesn't give Ciara nearly enough credit for what she did. So I dig it. Corey, what did you think from round 6 on? What changed?
Yeah, I would think, in keeping with the theme of it, they're getting jiggy with it. If you were getting ready or you're at a club, I would definitely rather hear the Matt's mix rather than Brian's, especially after, the first couple of rounds. Springsteen's great. All the songs he picked are really great. It's just when it goes up against the other ones, they really kind of sort of they get into some more of the funk. The Party All the Time, Humpty Dance, the Ciara, the Bad Mama Jamma, Jam on It. They just will get your feet moving.
Yeah.
Or at least mine.
And Tony, what are your thoughts from round 6 on? Everybody seemed to just find it worked out for Matt. Why?
Yeah, I agree with Todd. I think he just Matt just kept just serving up fastballs and just coming right down the plate with them. And I think Brian can only go so much with what he was going with until finally you're just going to run out of hits. And I think that for me anyway, I mean, although I voted for the Frank Turner song and I went with the Run the Jewel songs that Brian picked, I didn't think the Ruby Soho and the Hey Emily were nearly as strong.
Funny note is that Matt actually made a mistake in the construction of his song, and he when he describes his Jiggy With It definition earlier in the show, I immediately thought, well, what about Hot and Her, and why is that not on the list? And he had intended to put that in the list, and that would have just, I don't know what song he would have pulled out, but there's another great Getting Jiggy With It kind of song. So if we were going to have a tie, that was going to be his tiebreaker song, and then Brian had his own tiebreaker song, but which would have been, let's just do this just for fun, on the spot here, Sabotage from the Beastie Boys versus Hot and Her. What do you think, Anthony? I'm sorry, what do you think, Tony?
Wow, Sabotage is such a great song. Yeah. I remember Todd was saying that he watched the videos, and I can still picture that video in my mind.
Yeah.
It's such a great video. But the Nelly song is really good to dance to.
Yeah.
That would be close. My personal preference is on the Beastie Boys side, but the dance preference would go with Nelly.
Yeah. How about you, Todd? How would you hasty score this thing?
Yeah, I have to agree. I think I would go with Nelly. I'm looking through the lyrics here. Your ass, good gracious, your ass is bodacious. But anyway, Sabotage is a good song for like, if you had to chop wood or something like that. Maybe not for dancing so much. I feel like this is a good song. Hot in Here would be a better song, like in terms of fitting in with the theme. It's interesting because Brian's tape. He said it was his personal hype tape, and I feel like it was there's a lot that was very interior to it.
Yeah, Corey, what do you think? What would be your hasty scoring of Sabotage versus Hot in Her?
If it was on this list, I would have to give it to Nelly. If I was, say, making a mix to drive down to L.A., I'd want Sabotage. Yeah. If I'm making a mix to get jiggy with it, I want Nelly.
Yeah, and I think that's the answer, right? Brian put together a great list of songs, and clearly, isn't afraid to take risks. But Matt got the Jiggy With It theme down. He just nailed it. And who knows what the next three judges would have said. They might have totally disagreed and liked Brian's list more, but sounds like we got a winner. Let me real quick do the disclaimer. We love this music. We love these guys. There's no hard feelings from anybody. We want you to support these bands. We want you to discover and listen to new music. Listen to it on Spotify. Of course, support the Break It Down show, but most of all, know that we do this because we love music. Parting shots, Todd.
I think we've covered it quite a bit. I think, again, Brian's tape was super. It was interior. I think it was very, very personal to him, and maybe that cost him, being eclectic and picking out these interesting songs, which were all super interesting. I think served him well in the semifinals, but not so much in the final round. And I think Matt was just stuck to the theme and just put his head down and put those on. He probably had some more interesting songs that were a little bit far afield that he rejected. And that was the theme, and that's what got the job done.
Corey, parting shots.
Yeah, I just like that on this. When I looked at the list, just the listing of the songs before I kind of did a deeper dive into them, in my head I make up who I think is going to win. I pick who I thought would win, who would lose, and then when you actually listen to them, I get surprised. Like me personally, I chose like We Came to Dance over Let's Get Down, Don't Threaten Me with a Good Time over Summertime, Party All the Time over Open All Night. Still, it's funny to me. I don't know if I'd make that same decision tomorrow, but I did today. So I really like the format, the way it was set up, and my expectations going in are the conclusion usually doesn't meet the expectations necessarily. I definitely change from what my initial expectations are. The final conclusion is much different.
And Tony, your first time through the whole process, parting shots.
Yeah, I agree with Corey in that, what you think is going to happen and what actually happens are it's amazing when it's totally different.
Yeah.
I did the same thing. I looked at the list and I'm like, okay, Gaslight Anthem. Okay. Beck. All right. And I do appreciate the chances that Brian took. Sometimes you got to do that in a fight to win it. But, he did take too many chances. And so that's why we went with Matt.
All right, great. Well, listen, I appreciate you guys. It's the last day of 2018, the last few hours, and I appreciate you guys spending some of that time with me. Again, as always, I'm super grateful. I love doing this. It's such a great thing. We've been doing this for a year now, and I can't imagine the reason why I'd stop doing it. So we're going to keep going. You guys keep coming back and judging. We're going to keep putting challenging things in front of you. And just thank you guys particularly for doing that. And everybody who's listening, honestly, click, subscribe, help out in any way that you can. We do this so you guys can enjoy it. If you're enjoying it, help lift the ship up. Fellas, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year to
Happy New
everybody.
Year.